Okay, continuing on with our first view of Montag's home and meeting Mildred. So we left off here in this paragraph as I ran out of time. He does realize. What does he realize? Well, it says it here. He was not happy. He realizes he is not happy. He was not happy. He said the words to himself. He recognized this as the true state of affairs. He wore his happiness like a mask. And the girl had run off across the lawn with the mask, and there was no way of going to knock on her door and ask for it back. Without turning on the light, he imagined how this room would look. His wife stretched on the bed, uncovered and cold, like a body displayed on the lid of a tomb. Her eyes fixed to the ceiling by invisible threads of steel, immovable. And in her ears the little seashells, the thimble radios tamped tight, and an electronic ocean of sound, of music and talk coming in on the shore of her unsleeping mind. The room was indeed empty. Every night the waves came in and bore her off on their great tides of sound, floating her wide-eyed toward morning. There had been no night in the last 2 years that Mildred had not swum that sea, had not gladly gone down in it for the 3rd time. The room was cold, but nonetheless he felt he could not breathe. He did not wish to open the curtains and open the French windows, for he did not want the moon to come into the room. So, with the feeling of a man who will die in the next hour for lack of air, he felt his way toward his open, separate, and therefore cold bed. So notice also, Montag is sleeping in a separate bed. Okay, everything described here, again, tomb-like. So tombs, death, or not. Okay, trying to fix this. Okay. Let's try this again. All right, so tombs, we saw that language before. Coldness and death, and like heat. I'm pressing a button. That's the problem here. Sorry. Okay, he doesn't even want the moon to come into the room. So nothing natural. Everything is unnatural. Empty. Said the room was indeed empty, but it's not empty. Mildred is here, but it's almost like she's not here because she's somewhere else, floating on an electronic ocean of sound, just addicted to her earbuds, to the radio, to the talk shows, whatever else is going on. An instant before his foot hit the object on the floor, he knew he would hit such an object. It was not unlike the feeling he had experienced before turning the corner and almost knocking the girl down. His foot, sending vibrations ahead, received back echoes of the small barrier across its path, even as the foot swung. His foot kicked. The object gave a dull clink and slid off in darkness. He stood very straight and listened to the person on the dark bed in the completely featureless night. The breath coming out of the nostrils was so faint it stirred only the furthest fringes of life. A small leaf, a black feather, a single fiber of hair. He still did not want outside light. He pulled out his igniter, felt the salamander etched on its silver disc, gave it a flick. 2 moonstones looked up at him in the light of his small handheld fire, 2 pale moonstones buried in a creek of clear water over which the life of the world ran, not touching them. Okay, so Mildred's eyes now are pictured as two moonstones that are just lifeless rocks in a stream. And the water is washing over these rocks, but her eyes are dead and lifeless, like stone. Notice they're buried in the creek of clear water. So again, this burial language, this tomb language. Mildred, her face was like a snow-covered island upon which rain might fall, but it felt no rain, over which clouds might pass their moving shadows, but she felt no shadow. There was only the singing of the thimble wasps in her tamped shut ears, and her eyes all glass, and breath going in and out softly, faintly, in and out of her nostrils, and her not caring whether it came or went or came. The object he had sent tumbling with his foot now glinted under the edge of his own bed. The small crystal bottle of sleeping tablets, which earlier today had been filled with 30 capsules, and which now lay uncapped and empty in the light of the tiny flare. So what happens? He comes home to a tomb-like, lifeless, empty home, empty of love, empty of affection, no friendship in his marriage. And what does he find? His wife has nearly overdosed on what? Sleeping pills. So we have a suicide attempt. Mildred has attempted to commit suicide. Well, question is why? Why is she taking sleeping pills, first of all? Well, she can't sleep for some reason. Okay, and not only that, why is she attempting suicide? Well, probably for the same reason as Montag just realized about himself. She's unhappy. People who are happy are not attempting to kill themselves. So she's requiring sleeping pills, and she's severely addicted to technology. Severely addicted to, she can't sleep without her earbuds. She can't function day by day without obsessively watching TV on the parlor walls, as we're going to see. But it's all of this media and distraction and entertainment fulfilling her soul? Nope, it's making her actually suicidal. She's so unhappy. So literally, she is kind of lifeless because she's almost dead at this point. And Montag's going to have to rush her. And is this the first suicide attempt? Nope. We're going to learn multiple times she's tried to kill herself. Montag could even sense like that he was already going to kick this empty sleeping tablet bottle. As he stood there, the sky over the house screamed. There was a tremendous ripping sound as if two giant hands had torn 10,000 miles of black linen down the seam. Montag was cut in half. He felt his chest chopped down and split apart. The jet bombs going over. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 6 of them, 9 of them, 12 of them. One and one and one and another and another and another did all the screaming for him. He opened his own mouth and let their shriek come down and out between his bared teeth. The house shook. The flare went out in his hand. The moonstones vanished. He felt his hand plunge toward the telephone. The jets were gone. He felt his lips move, brushing the mouthpiece of the phone. Emergency hospital. A terrible whisper. He felt the stars had been pulverized by the sound. Notice that what's going on in the background here. There's massive war going on of some sort. You have these bomber jets going over. How many? Well, probably at least about 20 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 6 of them, 9 of them, 12 of them, 1 and 1 and 1, and another and another and another and another. Okay, so massive war going on, or preparation for war. These huge bomber jets just screaming over his house, feeling like he's being ripped in half by the sound of that. Okay, so this is all symbolic of Montag's inner torment and pain. Montag's pain and anguish. And unhappiness also, like a scream, a silent scream of rage. So, I'm going to have to go to the scene now where Mildred is going to be taken to get help because she's OD'd on these sleeping pills. He felt the stars had been pulverized by the sound. So stars being pulverized, that means destroyed. Stars destroyed equals no light, darkness again. Of the black jets, and in the morning the earth would be thought as he stood shivering in the dark and let his lips go on moving and moving. Okay, next scene. They come to the hospital. They had this machine. They had two machines, really. One of them slid down into your stomach like a black cobra down an echoing well, looking for all the old water and the old time gathered there. It drank up the green matter that flowed to the top in a slow boil. Did it drink of the darkness? Did it suck out all the poisons accumulated with the years? It fed in silence with an occasional sound of inner suffocation and blind searching. It had an eye. The impersonal operator of the machine could, by wearing a special optical helmet, gaze into the soul of the person whom he was pumping out. What did the eye see? He did not say. He saw but did not see what the eye saw. The entire operation was not unlike the digging of a trench in one's yard. The woman on the bed was no more than a hard stratum of marble they had reached. Go on anyway, shove the bore down, slush up the emptiness, if such a thing could be if such a thing could be brought out in the throb of the suction snake. The operator stood smoking a cigarette. The other machine was working too. The other machine was operated by an equally impersonal fellow in non-stainable reddish-brown overalls. The machine pumped all of the blood from the body and replaced it with fresh blood and serum. Okay, what do we see here? Again, technology with this negative nature imagery of snakes going down into her belly, sucking out the poison from the pills. But what does he say sucking out of her? The emptiness inside of her soul. Obviously, can't literally see inside of her soul, but she's empty. Why do you think she's committing suicide? Got to clean him out both ways, said the operator, standing over the silent woman. No use getting a stomach if you can't clean the blood. Leave that stuff in the blood, and the blood hits the brain like a mallet. Bang! A couple thousand times, and the brain just gives up. Just quits. Stop it, said Montag. I was just saying, said the operator. Are you done? Said Montag. They shut the machines up tight. We're done. His anger did not even touch them. They stood with the cigarette smoke curling around their noses and into their eyes without making them blink or squint. That's $50. First, why don't you tell me if she'll be all right? Sure, she'll be okay. We got all the mean stuff right. In our suitcase here, I can't get at her now. As I said, you take out the old and you put in the new and you're okay. Neither of you is an MD. Why didn't they send an MD from emergency? Hell, the operator's cigarette moved on his lips. We get these cases 9 or 10 a night. Got so many starting a few years ago we had the special machines built. With the optical lens, of course. That was new. The rest is ancient. You don't need an MD. Case like this, all you need is 2 handymen, clean up the job, clean up the problem in half an hour. Look, he started for the door. We gotta go. Just had another call on the old thimble, 10 blocks from here. Someone else just jumped off the cap of a pillbox. Call if you need us again. Keep her quiet. We got a contraceptive in her.